Evening. Hope everyone is okay tonight. Let's start with the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. I was just looking at the chat to make sure there wasn't something wrong. I saw there were a lot of posts. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an issue, technical issue. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. The fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. So let's meditate. Let's take several deep breaths. And let your belly be nice and soft so your abdomen can rise and fall smoothly, comfortably as you breathe. And then just let your breath settle to a comfortable rhythm. And find a place in your body where it's comfortable to feel the breath. It can be the tip of your nose, it can be the center of your chest, it can be your belly, I like belly. You do what's comfortable for you. And you can just breathe naturally. You don't have to breathe any special way. But with your out breath, just count as you breathe out. 1, 2, and on up to 10. And we'll do this for a few minutes. Now we'll continue to count the breath, but this time don't count during the breath, just note 1 at the end of the breath. In, out, 2, and so on to 10. And now stop counting, but maintain that same level of concentration on the breath. Just the sensation of breathing at the tip of your nose or the rise and fall of your belly, movement of air in your body. And from time to time, you might scan your body quickly. Make sure that you're still upright, stable, not slumped. You'll notice as your mind calms down, the body will relax. Sometimes the structure will change slightly just as you really relax and release. It's always okay to just move slightly just to get realigned. Extend your neck, pull your ears back over your shoulders. The bell will ring twice to end the meditation. Even when you're meditating at home, you don't need to just jump right out of meditation. Just take some time, take a couple of deep breaths when it rings the first time. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Bring your mindfulness together. When it rings the second time, you can bow. And just to acknowledge that we spent this time meditating together. Maybe a little closer so I can see what's going on. Well, I'm glad you're all here too. So we have a little drama happening at the house tonight. One of the dogs was at the vet all day. Lola, she had to have a bunch of dental work done. So she was kind of in and out of the office, and then Michelle took her off somewhere. I don't know where they are. She must have taken her back to her office and closed her up because she was walking around. She's not feeling good. She's making a lot of little whiny noises, which is what I do when I'm not feeling good. I make whiny noises. So anyway, so we've been talking through what we do in the service and explanations of those. So if you're new to us, you can scroll back through the last couple of Wednesdays and see the explanation for what all this stuff does. And I'm going to go ahead and revise this now that we've talked about it. Oh, it's okay. She's an old dog. She's a very old dog, but they said she's really healthy. She's 15. And they said that if we hadn't told her that, they wouldn't have known. But, she had to have some tooth work done. She's not happy, but she will be better tomorrow. Anyway, so the dedication is the only thing that we haven't talked about yet. And it shouldn't take very long to discuss it, but I thought that about the Metta Sutra too, and it took the whole period. So I'm going to just kind of read the whole thing through, and I'll say it at the end of the meeting again, but just to kind of get a sense of what all's in here, I'll just read it. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here and now. In reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma, and training the mind, great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma, and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of the Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. Let their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for the health and well-being of all those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, all those working toward the healing of those afflictions. When we do this in person, if there are people who are sick, I'll read those names. I don't like to read that stuff on the internet, but if you go to White Sands, the nuns will often say this in a prayer similar to this in Vietnamese. And if you want to be prayed for, they'll pray for you. We pray for all those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophes, man-made or natural. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. So let me go through this kind of paragraph by paragraph. So the first thing is the word Buddha nature. We actually haven't talked about Buddha nature in the context of the service until we get to this point. So what is this Buddha nature stuff? So the idea is that all beings have the capacity to awaken. That's Buddha nature kind of on one level. On another level, Buddha nature really is purity of mind. And you can take this to whatever direction you want to. I mean, if you're reading the Lotus Sutra, where they talk about Buddha nature a lot, or if you're reading some of the works of some of the great Buddhist teachers like Dogen and so on, Buddha nature pervades the whole universe. It is in everything. So it's almost like the quality of the divine. I use this word divine because once we start talking about divine, then we start thinking about gods and deities and things like that, and then thinking dualistically. Somebody long time ago, when I got interested in Buddhism, somebody asked me why I was Buddhist instead of Christian, which was how I grew up, and and what was the difference? They're asking me about belief in God and stuff like that, and I said, one of the problems that I had with sort of the traditional view of Christianity in my culture was this idea that there was something that was God and there was something that wasn't God. And that just didn't make sense to me. So if you want to use the word God in conjunction with with the idea of Buddha nature, you can, or you can simply see it as the the purity of mind that is unencumbered by all of the wrong thinking that we put on top of it. So you were thinking in terms of like contemporary psychology, someone like Albert Ellis or Ernest Becker, not Becker. Can't think of the guy's name. The guy who came up with cognitive behavior therapy. Ellis was rational emotive behavior therapy, not a psychologist, but the idea is that it is basically thinking irrationally, thinking in ways that are cognitively sort of incorrect in terms of reality, that are at the root of our suffering. And this is pretty much what Buddhism said. The Buddha said, "I realized there were thoughts that led to suffering, and there were thoughts that didn't. And I thought, what if I just abandon the thoughts that lead to suffering?" So if you could somehow rid your mind of all greed, hatred, and ignorance, what you'd be left with is this quality of purity of mind. Thank you, Beck. I couldn't think of Beck for some reason. You would be left with this pure quality of mind, and you could say, okay, that's your Buddha nature. So there's a koan that says, show me your face before your parents were born. Contemplate that one for a while. But this is what it's talking about, getting back to this essence of pure mind that exists independently of all the karma that's been laid on top of consciousness since beginningless time. So if we can continue to free ourselves of these patterns of destructive thinking, then we awaken to that purity of mind. So that's the first sentence, right? In reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma, and training the mind, great merit is attained. So sutras are Buddhist scriptures, and we recited the Metta Sutra and these all this kind of stuff, the things that we say together. These are meritorious practices. They're meritorious because they help us to purify our mind. And so they're good things to do, as opposed to bad things to do, like continue to cloud our minds with, whatever favorite thing that you use to cloud your mind with, right? So reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma, training the mind, meditating, listening to Dharma talks or reading the Dharma, those are meritorious things. And as a result of doing that, great merit is attained. So people will sometimes ask me, like, is merit a real thing? It is the result of good actions. There's not a bucket full of it somewhere with your name on it, right? There's nobody who's counting merit points, anything like that. It's like if you want to learn how to play music, if you sit down at the piano, say, to learn how to play the piano, and you practice, you're going to get a result from that. Different people get different results in different periods of time, and different people have different reasons for wanting to learn how to play music, right? But if you sit down and practice, you're going to get a result from that. So it's the same thing. If we practice, we're going to get a result from that. And the result of practicing the piano is you learn how to play music. The result of practicing Buddhism, hearing the Dharma, reciting the sutras, meditating, those kinds of things, the result we get from that is a better way of life. It's one way of looking at that. And if you want to think about after this life is over, we get a better world next time around. So we have accumulated the results of good actions, but we don't want to cling to them. We want to share that because we're recognizing that our practice is not simply for our benefit, but it's for the benefit of all beings with whom we share all worlds. I'll talk a little bit more about all worlds in a minute, but everything that lives together, everything that exists, benefits from us practicing this way. Let that sink in for a minute. Everything that exists benefits from our practice. And so we're acknowledging that really when we say we're dedicating merit. We don't really have to give the merit away. If we're practicing properly, it is shared already, but we're acknowledging this sharing, which helps us to continue to practice, right? So we start by dedicating this merit to the Buddha. Why would we need to dedicate merit to the Buddha? He's already the Buddha. Because we're acknowledging that this is where it came from. We're in thanks for giving us this practice, we're sharing the benefits of it. So in Theravada Buddhism, that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. I've never seen this idea of sharing merit with the Buddha in Theravada Buddhism, because in Theravada Buddhism, the Buddha became an arhat. He left the cycle of coming and going altogether, exists in some state of nirvana, of unbinding, right? The things that fueled coming and going are no longer fueling anything, and therefore he is unbound, not tied to existence. So what does that look like? We don't know. We can't really describe that. You can glimpse deathlessness once in a while. You'll get a little taste, but but it's not something that you can sit down and say, here's what nirvana is. Even the Buddha himself wouldn't do that. But in Mahayana Buddhism, especially in sort of more evolved Mahayana Buddhism that comes from the Lotus Sutra and things like that, Buddhahood is not a termination. It is a continuance. It's eternal. So, which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense. The possibility of awakening could not come from somewhere. Has to always be there. Otherwise, it's a conditioned thing. If it comes from somewhere, then it's a conditioned thing. And the whole idea of awakening is that it's unconditioned, right? We're awakening to something that's beyond all these fetters that keep us tied to this form. So the idea of it becoming extinct doesn't really make a lot of sense. So don't try to, don't worry about believing in this stuff, by the way. The whole purpose of this is to practice it. So don't get hung up on, is this true or not? Just put these ideas to practice and they will motivate your practice. That's the important thing. But so we're sharing it with Buddha. It's an act of gratitude. I have this merit because of the Buddha. I want to sustain this practice into however many eternities there are from now, however many kalpas there are. I want my practice to extend into that period. Sakyamuni Buddha, by the way, we mentioned multiple Buddhas during the course of not so much our service at Volusia Buddhist Fellowship, but like White Sands. There's other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas mentioned. So, Sakyamuni Buddha is the one and only historical Buddha. So, but that doesn't negate the importance of other Buddhas. It's just that the Buddhism that we're practicing comes from Sakyamuni Buddha. And he was the one and only historical figure who became a Buddha. So the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures. So the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. That's where we're going from the historical Buddha to these principles that must have existed before Sakyamuni was born and continued to exist long after Sakyamuni Buddha died, right? So we're with our practice, we are perpetuating those realities. The 16 guardians. So this is a Japanese thing, I think. I don't think it exists anywhere else, but it's basically there are 16 sort of relatively minor bodhisattvas in this sense that I don't know their names. I don't think most people know their names, but they are considered um, uh, bodhisattvas that guard the Dharma. They try to keep it from being attacked from outside. Um, and from heresy, probably. I mean, basically, you would say they try to sort of guarding right views. 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time. So everyone who is preserving the Dharma and protecting the Dharma through all space, all time, whatever worlds there are. We have this idea that this is the world that we live in, but yet we know rationally, even in terms of science and empirical knowledge, there may very well be other planets out there and stuff. Not to mention other worlds that are outside of conventional space and time. Buddha worlds and things like that. So basically, we're saying whatever there is, we want our practice to be connected to that, right? May all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. So when we think about ancestors of this Sangha, the thing that comes up first is going to be my teachers. But I think we're thinking even beyond that. We're thinking teachers in general, whatever entities there are, in whatever worlds there is, that keep this practice available to us. So, may penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. In other words, maybe we wake up. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. So whatever karma brought us into this existence, we want that to be resolved in a way that frees us. So it's not still hanging around to bring us back to suffer again. And the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. That's kind of I love that. I love that phrase. It's not hugely significant about anything, but it's a beautiful metaphor that that the mind flower, the lotus of our practice, basically blooms forever, in eternity. So when the Buddha, when the Buddha became enlightened, and he was trying to decide whether or not to teach, one of the stories is that he sat down next to a river. He noticed the lotuses, and it occurred to him that lotuses come out of the mud, up through the water, into the sun, and open. And this is the way our practice is. Our practice comes up out of the mud, the mud of human existence, with all its suffering and all its defilements and all of that muck, right? That is our human existence. That's what our practice has to come out of. And so our awakening, our coming up into the sunlight and opening and blooming, is rooted down in that mud. So that's why the lotus is such an important symbol in Buddhism. And so saying the mind flower, the awakened mind that results from this practice that brought us out of the mud, blooms in eternal spring. So always blooming, always there. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. So the Dharma body. This is an interesting one. So the human body and the Dharma body are different. When the Buddha was getting ready to pass away, Ananda was very upset, and the Buddha said, don't don't worry about this form here. This form is just, it was just a walking corpse already, right? And wherever you see the Dharma, you see me. So that's the Dharma body, is the presence of Buddhahood through the Dharma. So what it seems to be saying in this particular um, dedication is a traditional one that comes from Zen, Japanese Zen. Um, and so it's saying, will the Dharma body be strong in the teachers of this Sangha, and will they live long so that they can continue to teach? So we're the teachers of this Sangha. Me, Sensei Michelle, Sensei Neil, Sensei Brandon, Sensei Mark, Sensei Pia, Sensei Michael. I know I'm leaving somebody out. I'm sorry. If you're listening, I'm sorry. We have produced teachers in this community. If you're thinking about the ancestors of the Sangha, though, you would think about like my teachers and their teachers. So um, uh, I've been blessed with some really amazing teachers. I Most people who actually get anywhere with the Dharma don't just have one teacher and succeed them. Most of them study with other people, might have one teacher and then a different teacher and then a different teacher. They might have one teacher mainly, but they hear teachings from other people and stuff like that. There are traditions where they really kind of like insist on you having one teacher. I don't find that particular. I don't know. That doesn't make much sense. You don't go to college and study with the same guy for 4 years, right? Or female. So I've had some incredible teachers. And so when I say this, I think of them. I think of Tanchao Kun, who's the abbot of Wat Florida Dhammarong, and of Koyo Kabose, who's the head of Bright Dawn Center for Oneness Buddhism, Kai Tien, Sensei Jim Ginjo Gallagher, Greg Creech. I'm probably leaving people out, but kind of those are the ones that are that have imparted very specific Dharma teachings to me. And as a result of them, I'm able to share a little bit of what I know with you. So when I say this, I'm thinking about those people. If I'm not there, though, at a meeting, whoever is leading this is supposed to make sure that you share your merit with me. So they'll name me specifically because I'm the main teacher of this particular Sangha. Anyway, I didn't set it up that way. It's just the way it is. All right. Anyway, so we pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, and those working toward the healing of those afflictions. It's very common when you go to any religious service that there are people who can't be there. And you want to acknowledge that those are still a part of, that those people are part of your community and that you care about them. And so that's why we pray for them. Is that going to help them get better? Can't hurt, right? But certainly being a part of a religious community is a healthy thing to do. And it's a healthy thing for the community to be aware of the well-being of the people that are members of it. And so I think it's important to have that there. So this next paragraph actually added, it's not part of the traditional one. It's praying for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them and those living in oppression, those who are imprisoned who should be free, refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We live in a very challenging time. And it occurred to me, it's common, in religious communities of all kinds, Buddhist and otherwise, that when you have a service, if something tragic has happened, that you acknowledge that you light a candle for people who passed away, or whatever it is that you do to acknowledge the suffering of the world. And for a while, it was every week. So, and even when you're not acknowledging something specific, I mean, if you think about the things that have happened in the last few years that we've had vigils for, or that we've acknowledged in services, the Pulse shooting, I mean, I don't want to start the list because it's kind of overwhelming when you start to think about it. But it's always that way, really. It's just that we're maybe more aware of some of these things. It would be nice to reflect sometimes that we're not in the middle of a major world war right now. This pandemic that we're experiencing is it is damned inconvenient, and certainly it has caused a fair amount of suffering. But if you think about it compared to the plague in Europe, this is it could be a lot worse, right? But nevertheless, we want to acknowledge these things and acknowledge that our practice is really meant to help do two things. One is hopefully if we can reduce some of the greed, hatred, and delusion in the world, there will be less suffering. And number two, we want to help everyone get out of the cycle of coming and going so that we don't have to experience this because we can go on to someplace better. But we still pray for those people, and we ask that they be serene through all their troubles and realize the enlightened way together. Again, we're all going to suffer. Let's have some serenity while we do that, and let's all become enlightened together so that we can transcend that cycle. So that's what this dedication is about. I was thinking about this when I was kind of thinking about what I was going to say tonight. I do a lot of interfaith services and stuff, being a chaplain and all of that. And it occurred to me a couple of years ago when I was putting together a service that, services, even things like college commencements and, that sort of thing, how do they end? Even Protestant church services, how do they end? They end with basically a blessing, right? And usually it's, the preacher stands up there, blesses or the priest blesses everybody. The idea is that the priest is sort of a conduit for God, and, by way of the priest or the preacher, God is showing his goodness to you or being good to you. Well, in Buddhism, where do our blessings come from? Going all the way back to the beginning of this, it comes from our good actions, right? If you do a good thing, you get a good result. So our blessings are basically synonymous with goodness. So this is your blessing. It's a reminder that your blessing is a result of your good actions and the good actions of others also who are practicing here with you. So we share our blessings by acknowledging that we've created them and acknowledging that we're blessed by the good actions of others who have done things and then dedicated that to us as well. So anyway, that's the end of that. And then we typically wrap up with a dedication of merit in Pali. We kind of start the service with after the initial chanting and lighting incense with homage to the Buddha in Pali. So it made sense to us when we were designing what our service would be like to do it in Pali, going back to acknowledging the roots of our practice in this ancient Indian language. So sabe sata sadahantu, ave rasuka jivino, katang punya phalang maihang sabe bagi bhavantute. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. So we're basically saying we want this practice to free everyone, make everyone happy. So that's really all I had to say tonight. So let me do the dedication, and then if you got any questions or comments, please go ahead and post them. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma, and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma, their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of the Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance, that all karma be resolved in the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. Let their vows be fully realized. May they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, and all those working toward the healing of those afflictions. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukajivino katang punya phalang maihang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. So thank you very much for being here tonight. I don't see any questions, so hopefully I'll see you tomorrow or Sunday at White Sands or wherever our paths cross. Have a good night.